Hi, a very good afternoon to all of you all. Thank you for joining in for this session, especially in the holiday season. I guess we are fortunate to have all the intellectuals sitting in this room, working in the space of development, CSR, and ESG. The session will be live streamed and it would also be there for future reference purposes on YouTube. We have very esteemed panel today with us. We have, and I request if you all would like to also speak something about it. We have Alan who will start.
Yes, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Alon Bonilla. I am a director on the sustainable finance team for S&P Global Rating, big rating agency, based here in. Well, I live in El Cerrito, New Berkeley, but work out of really awesome here.
Risky and Stanford, instruction. Teaching for 10 years.
I'm Caroline. I'm an executive coach and also social impact consultant. I'm helping people to align purpose, profit, and positive impact. I dropped out from I'm a recovering merchant marine pilot. I was in the middle of the ocean, dealing with fire rigs, studying our rigs, anchoring memories and dealing with uploading and photos, seeing all those good data, but like, oh my God, weird. I don't want to be alive and to destroy the planet. I might as well be good with my planet. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm from Brazil, and then and social. I'm I love recovering things. My past is architect. We were when lead building. Now I co-founded the actual design partner. What that means is very tech heavy in the way deep tech. Companies do a lot of communication work, which I think I need to work very simply for everyone to understand. On the other side, we do a lot of people work with it in promoting behavior change, along with pushing for user knowledge of things. I'm based out of San Francisco. The team is based in India. And I go there.
Hi, my name is Prakash Chalke. I have sort of interesting writing of a different kind. So I started my career in academic, it's a scientist, and then I pursued my MBA. Into the entrepreneurial ecosystem that I had the opportunity to lead a couple of startups. And they're all in the healthcare and life science space, utilizing AI and how technology can make it more creative and intersection. Yeah, so that intersection with magnets is so. And so I had a screen working for WHO and the career. And then I moved on to after my startup and venture advisory role. Advised 30+ growth with investing, and currently I work for government UK cross-border innovation training. So whatever I speak today, a disclaimer, it is not representing the company, but it is my views from the experience of the affair, in the career journey and to observations traveling. Would love to learn from the fellow panelists and from all of you.
Wonderful.
So I'm wondering, I work with a company, it's called to do a presentation a bit here. My role is business development and raising capital for the startup. The company is focused on reducing form fuel, taking plastics and creating ammonia out of that and carrier hydrogen. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when I have a chance to.
Okay. We have a very small group. Do you think we all can have a round of introduction, or shall I start with questions for the panelists? I'll start with the questions.
It just it might be nice to hear at least what's the profile of audience so that we know later.
Maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a 30-second intro of everybody. We are just.
It's very difficult to hear. There's noise behind, so it's
They did not give mic.
okay.
That's not good. So you think we can have 30 seconds of introduction of each one, and then we can start with the session. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure Professor Sam.
I'm Al Abasani. I'm a security privacy science, but I'm transitioning to just a little bit.
I'm Sharma. I'm an IT engineer, but currently I'm a student at Cancer. Hi, I'm not I am not a good I am very active with her.
Ja, over jaar aan het CEO of technologies, AI, machine learning, I'm Jay very much. I'm a growth coach as well as practitioner customer office. AI. Just examples, you guys to work for renewable energy power, data center company in Texas. There's a huge solar and wind. Excellent sun in the day, during the day, a lot of wind at night. I'm very curious.
My name is Kip Wagner. I'm a retired corporate finance executive, MBA, and I'm here because I'm currently president of East Bay chapter of the United Nations Association, and we've got 194 youth that are all interested in sustainable development, and we don't know what to do with it.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm working in healthcare technologies.
Jeff Trotta, Chief Executive Officer for Regenesis, a startup looking to help regenerative businesses, brands, and industries form because we need to move beyond sustainability. I'll be pitching a little bit later on. And in terms of being forming something, I was one kind of part of one of the big four focus, covering something.
Hi, I'm Saria, founder of X. We're an early stage startup in the ag space, working on reactive carbon capture for agricultural waste.
Hi, I'm Caroline, CMO of blockchain trees. You finding samples. That's part of this brand that Hi, recognize all guys. I am area, I'm dear to about the game, like everything.
Manoj, the software engineer at research, now we are continuously trying to reduce our problem.
Hello, Anurupa Sharma. I'm actually co-founder of a STEM startup, mostly in productivity side. And apart from that, I also run an AI consulting firm. So yeah, I came here as an invitation to my friend Harsha. I'm very interested in this kind of thing.
Mark, I'm a technical product manager in Web3 space, and I am
Hey everyone, my name is Zafi. I just do my energy. And I'll be presenting there today.
From my perspective, to bring social businesses in emerging economies, I do think that people who are interested in creating social impact are people who they went through the challenge themselves. So they have huge empathy for the challenge. They have that intrinsic resilience to go there. So, however, they don't have what the developed economies have, which is the technology, the network, the money, the investors, the tools, the technology transfer, the knowledge transfer, right? So I see social businesses being created in two ways. One is equipping the people who are interested in social impact with the knowledge, right? That was what I did. I moved from Brazil to Silicon Valley to do my master's here, and I did my master's in business social innovation and giving back my work. And the second way is helping the people who already have the tools, who already have the money, the network, to help them to awake of what really matters and change their perspective about how, because they're used to how to do business in the traditional way of doing business, which is asking the main question of how can I make more money out of this? That's what leads traditional way of doing business. And instead of asking how much money can I make out of this, ask how much impact can I make out of this? And just by changing your mindset, your perspective, you can change your you can even get the same financial results, but how you're going to make it is completely different. And then open space for other stakeholders, for other for more social when you change that perspective.
So I see somewhat related. I'm from Philadelphia, so we speak sometimes, especially on Fridays, powerful words that may not translate, but with your indulgence, I will, because we have words and convincing words diplomatically. And I also have a neuromuscular condition. Still, you don't make me get shape, but I'm a lawyer in 3 states, and when I disagree with you, no. So I think it's also a difference in insurance and in how we account for what matters. In the developing world, for the most part, with asterisks around, we have accounting systems that can trace how things relate in our economies from flow models, etc. In developing countries, we think that's the news with numbers. Let me run the numbers for my friends in the Philippines would say. Is it for my partner or is it for my wife? And those are 3 sets of books that we don't do these sets of books for insurance or America. And so if you're talking about sustainability, typically you're talking about the impacts, saving costs in related or integrated fashion. I can talk a little about periodic table of quality of life elements that are designed based on government finance budgets, but suffice it to say that if sustainability matters to everything, not having the data from the developing countries, the emerging markets, at a great disadvantage, particularly having the interest of investors and vendors especially when you realize that those emerging markets are deep debtor-like nations. And they will not get themselves out of perennial debt, affordable debt anytime soon until they can say that we are turning our economy into sustainable, which means we will be able to pay for that. So,
yeah, no, it does, definitely does, and really no agenda. I think the point of us being here, and I hope everybody, I don't hear well, but I have a loud voice, I think, so I hope everybody can hear me. We don't have an agenda, it's really just kind of casual discussion around a few questions that we generated. My perspective is very different because it's very institutional. So my team, what we do is analyze green, social, and sustainable bonds for the bond market. So it's institutional issuers, not startups. I know very little about startups. I feel like a fish out of water when I'm down here. I'm very rarely down here. When I'm in the tech community, I know very little about it. So I'll caveat everything I say. It has not much to do with entrepreneurial business and such, but it's at an institutional level. And I think what you say is absolutely right. It's not just for emerging economies, emerging businesses. There is a tremendous issue with data in general. So we deal with the largest corporations in the world that want to be able to label their bonds green or social for the potential benefit to save some companies money that they pay. But even within that larger space, data is so limited and consistency around data is extremely. We also deal with emerging market issuers in emerging economies that are well intended and while maybe inherently green or social, if you do not have, and many times it takes a deep pocket to be able to consolidate that data, present that data, package it for an institution like my firm to be able to analyze it and say, yes, this fits within green and social principles, this aligns and it gets our stamp of verification of green and social. A lot of it has to do with data. There's an issue across the board. It gets really challenging when you're getting to smaller, non-deep pocket organizations that simply can't afford.
Natural regulators or
yes, and it's coming.
It's getting serious.
It's coming. It's getting serious. In Europe, which is significant years ahead of where the US is, are doing more and more about manufacturing data. That is coming. We have companies that are preparing for that. It is the smaller companies that are doing it. And it's unfortunately small companies that are well intended may be inherently greener, but just don't have the infrastructure. Put together
So a lot of the time, the data that you're talking about is very different from like a nation where the cultural context or subtle variation is sort of the baseline of what that data is okay is very different. So I think and now there are so many different frameworks, so much confusion about how you define this. What so I think overall there are a lack of definition for different types of contexts. So what is the kind of data and what is the benchmark for you to see it as
and the underlying point, the UN SDG people, when they ask countries to self-report how much of the SDGs they don't, those give themselves a very good rating. They report to the UN, but they
and a lot of these times like and not really starting out
I would probably miss it. But we were talking about difference for emerging. We should look into the customer. It's not say this is not therefore there are multiple levels and different type of sector can be different. Failure is a technology that always exists. Solving that secure way of digital places. And you will always be from the US, whereas in countries like India, because sometimes solutions are even so start with solution problem. Maybe the problem is you want to start to see secondary clear, it might take a couple of days. So but in the US, the problem is very different. The problem is not access to that level. It's about getting you get a small rash on your skin. It's so difficult to get a double disappointment that you physically record that it take 1 month. Now, solution is the same. So that defines how that actually makes so what I propose is whereas in therefore we can have this way to start it's like all so sometimes that is where you can see what the genesis is happens. A lot of small switches are the same. Here, Canada. In US, it may be more difficult to get a boost. And it's supporting. So, but it wants to grow and it will keep it on. So maybe we want to say but at that time, the thinking was the process of spending some money. And then therefore, the market down. That's the one going down. That's what so I can see. But strategic seasons is just thinking next quarter money and then if I can make my company big, plan this. So the audience actually once you know that our system you can say the same thing. Just because being small, reduce the plastic, all that, maybe the long-term process continuously.
And we have enough startups and tech around it. I know that SAP has just started on ESG tech and starting climate. What are the policies that we should introduce and how the companies as well as we as professionals bolster not the entrepreneurs but also aspirations of
What is that we have a failure system to understand the way my father, my grandfather, your father, your grandfather's generation, those benefits, future benefits for life, or future benefits, movies called American Academy. So you have bankers that have become expert in the financialized economy, not the real one. And if you're going to financialize the economy, that lets us get ratings, we can look at our Bloomberg terminals, we can figure out how to make profit every day. But that's so extruded away from people having jobs. You kind of need to get that a time where bankers understood how to underwrite real value, and we've not been trained. We have an MBA program over at Stanford, and it's not convinced that we will. Second, what you mentioned is that these small contributions get to mentor sustainable entrepreneurs, the way we mentor entrepreneurs. And there are people who do not have the mentors and contacts that is available to others. And without getting into an equity discussion, it's for real.
done some research recently. We looked at historically, the inventors, at least in this, they are, I'll say, they are not all able-bodied white men. They were women from Harlem who invented laser eye. A woman who was the daughter of sharecroppers who invented GPS and even an immigrant from Vienna who was a very famous movie star in her time. So we have a very distorted view. We being not only the consumers of technology, but the funders of technology, the inventors, the bankers. It's a distortion of who has been an inventor. And I'll go one step further and say the people who have been marginalized actually could have been. And as entrepreneurs, because they live it faster, they realize that the first idea wasn't the best idea. So to your point, I think we need strong bankers, including venture capital, etc., to be a little more humble in what they know, what they think has value, and how they think they can do it. Well, I'll tell you people at Wells Fargo who open with bank accounts. Think about how they do it.
So.
It's actually modeled off of two loan societies that have been around for 2000.
Yeah.
Even other things. Somebody who's gone represented clients in the bankruptcy court. It's true. The bankruptcy process tells you if you ever have a business model, and if you didn't, getting out of bankruptcy other than by selling assets, better have a better part of business. You're not getting out of bankruptcy. So you don't do a good job of the truth telling of practices. You should look at them as case studies and how to go through a lot of fast because there's no real so hold show us the role. We don't know how to do everything.
And what you said about you have to help the bankers to see clearly and actually say that the small business owners, they are happier than the people who own the unicorn energy. So everything lies in our definition of success. So our own definition of happiness, what we think that will bring us happiness. And don't do that inner questioning, that inner awareness and the self-awareness of like what is happiness for me, and who taught me that happiness is that, who taught me that happiness is having all this money, and who taught me that happiness and success is telling my shareholders how I'm dealing with my business or not being authentic or not being honest. Who told me that being successful is doing all that? Right? So when we start looking inside and like, okay, what's who am I first? Because when I ask myself, what's my definition of success, I have to know which version of myself that I'm talking to, right? So who am I first? And then ask myself, asking me, what is my definition of success and not what other people or my coworkers or who is in the past that is telling me what success is, because then we just entering this autopilot mode and end up doing a lot of bad decisions through business and end up bankrupt.
Well,
and then
you're also pointing to the board for talent.
Yeah.
The board for talent. Or not the board of work. It's a damn answer to the question.
Yeah. And then you said something around helping the bankers to understand what truth is. And then my follow-up question for you around that's like how to do that. Because the person doesn't know that their problem is self-awareness and looking inside. How do you start dealing with issues with them if they don't want to be honest?
So Friday night in the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, I guarantee you there's a celebration right now. And if you come in to talk aside from serving them oysters, their holiday party, you would picture people who are making a difference in our country and in other countries. It's a struggle to get. Didn't understand. And when I move back tonight, that's how.
To be honest,
taught myself to use that. I'll go after your question. I just want to share that I ended about evergreen company that's when you're that is different, right? Evergreen company is 100-year-old. Start by 100-year planting trees. Whereas if you set out one list, according to scientists, are so tight, so you set up 4 or 5. I suspect serious share. So different instances here. Favors employee own trusts and things of that nature. Really yeah, I want to comment on because I agree with you saying that bankers, their perspectives are different. I'll tell you why though I'm optimistic. Why I think things are changing. So I started my career doing microfinance actually 15 years ago. I used to be a social impact investor. It was very niche, small fund based on the East Coast, working in India, Latin America. It was a very niche sector. I then moved on to one of the S&P's competitors that helped develop products and how to measure social environmental. This is back in 2011. And that failed. And that failed because no one really cared. It was cute at best when you started talking about social performance or even green performance. Who cared? It didn't affect the bottom line. If you didn't connect those dots, today, even today, if you're not able to connect social and green dots to the financial bottom line, triple bottom line is what you call it. It doesn't go there, particularly in the United States. So why I'm optimistic is that finally, it's really in the last couple of years, pandemic, George Floyd, and certain social, like from my view, doing this for 15 years, tables are like turning, and there's this like gigantic ESG wave, despite its politicization and controversy around this what is ESG, there has been a significant shift in the last few years. What I do, right, sustainable debt market, didn't exist a few years ago, is now an over $4 trillion market. This year will surpass $1 trillion. So these are companies scrambling to say, hey, I want to be able to call what we do socially green or sustainable so we can attract more funding, right? And why they're doing that, it's not because they think some do, but it's not a universal thing that they want to be good stewards of the environment and of society, because it's now affecting the financial market. Right, and so like this, and I think it's largely driven by this younger generation. So it's somewhere between 40 and 50% year by year changes by McKinsey reports. Consumers are boycotting products for some environmental reasons. And then within that, like for example, and I know this because we talked about George Floyd a couple of years ago, like a significant percentage of them are boycotting for some racial reasons. If you think about, so now you're talking about how this is affecting the market. Think about what happened with Adidas. You know what happened with Kanye West for the Bud Light scandal. With the Adidas, Kanye West himself, that company was like, hey, we're willing to forego $500 million worth of revenue. We don't want to be associated with something. Someone did the math. That $500 million is less than what this could potentially cost us. And consumers boycotting us because we're affiliated with something so fun. 5 years ago, so I'm optimistic that it's not for the, I do what I do because I want to be a good student. I have my own reasons why I do what I do. And, maybe in 20 years, the whole world will be that way. Right now, we don't have, as long as that is affecting the financial bottom line, we can use market, we can use banking.
So I have a question for you. I ran sustainability incubation at HP 2010. That's been all the cause of tax things for Tyler Perkins invested in a company called Hara Software, $80 million. They sold for peanuts to very sad. CG, AI, now they call it AI. They started as carbon. They removed carbon and made it AI. Look at all look at, and just in this crowd, right? If this had a title of AI or Gen AI, this whole room would have been packed. Okay. No, the point of question probably to you, Alan, is I think that's where the view, if this has to become mainstream, it starts from the space you operate, right? For it to be, otherwise it's like all the crazy guys in San Francisco doing yoga and doing sustainability. Right? So what do you think are the key things that need to happen from a measurement perspective? You can't manage that measure. If you can't measure, you can't manage, right? So practically, what do you think needs to happen for sustainability to get a little bit more prominent?
Yeah, and I know I'm conscious of time, so I'll try to be brief. And it's a complicated, there's a lot, and I should caveat, I'm not an advisor. I am an analyst. I've been an accredited analyst for most of my career, now sustainability aspects for years. So I don't advise. But like just going back to the data, the principles, the alphabet soup of ESG, there are so many different principles out there. And that's coalescing now more and more. And so like what we do when we are assessing what green and social means, we follow certain principles that are probably to the most extent possible universally accepted. The International Capital Markets Association, maybe people haven't heard of the International Capital Markets Association, has social and green principles. So that is a starting. S&P has our own voice, our opinion, interpretation of what that means, but we have that standard. And that $4 trillion market that I mentioned, in general, that's the standard that they follow. It will not go anywhere. And that is one of the biggest struggles of sustainability in general, is that there's just too many principles, too many standards. What does this mean? What does that mean? I agree 100%. It is coalescing, it's changing, but there's still significant work.
Can I just, a few things that for sure a lack of standardization is the single biggest challenge around the movement, whether it's ESG, sustainability, or corporate social responsibility. Until we get a standard in the same way as we have standards in the financial marketplace, we know what a balance sheet is, we know what a cash flow statement is, and we know what a P&L is, right? They're standardized, and it's easier for people to look at this data. So this is critical. But I just wanted to, I think to make a point also on the bankruptcy thing. The bankruptcy laws are very, very different in the United States versus, say, Australia, UK, and most of the other developed economies in Europe. In the sense that if you're bankrupt here in the United States on the back of being an entrepreneur, don't worry, you can get back on your horse. That's not the case in most other democracies. And that single point is the reason why folks get wrongly carried away thinking that, for instance, right here in the Lion's Den, this is the single most innovative space in the world. It's not. It's primarily because the bankruptcy laws allow it to happen. Fueled, again, because we're in the Lion's Den, around venture capital, which is absolutely bereft of ethics for the best part. I mean, here I am in the Lion's Den saying this. We know this is the case because when you look at after 6 weeks after George Floyd's murder, A16 has set up a $2 million fund. What we do, $2 million fund that's fabulous. By the way, 1 million. The partners, the other million they raised. So it wasn't even $2 million money. By the way, $2 million out of $18 billion of assets under management. It's a rounding error. It's a pocket net. It's yeah. The heartening aspect of all this when it comes to developing nations is that actually venture capital is probably reaching its carrying capacity. What we will see going forward are family offices. And when you see the massive rise in family offices coming out of China, coming out of India, Indonesia, Singapore, etc., they will be the new venture capitalists, but they won't be called venture capitalists. They will be called venture multi-capitalists because they understand that it's not only about the economic return, it is about a social return as well as an environmental return. And that will be the single biggest shift away from money moving in the venture space from the US to developing nations and economies. That's the heart of it.
something called the Bank for International Settlements. And they make the rules by which each central bank takes use. To the extent that we get a BIS, talk in terms of green finance and what you can carry with your bank mechanisms. That is a legitimate, sustainable. That will help us. So that carry banking or carry certain things without BIS buy-in with so scale up feel good holiday meals. But it would be great if it makes sense. And it probably will be more because again, it was underwritten by you to say, does this to the extent that these things. So one of the things that I don't have to believe that we're fighting at Stanford, frankly, more is there are codes of conduct. So when I got licensed as a lawyer, I had to separate well, it turns out mathematicians, data scientists, computer scientists, have codes of conduct that we've got. So if you want your startup to do this all less measurable, that comes by which those professions were taught and have. And then you will be looking at what possible was because you were reminded that you had to overcome by which you had to. So that would be a
So that things like the goal of this product, it's show your show
because you can do positive impact as like an appendix of your business, and or you can do it as a foundation of the business that is embedded in your conduct, in how you treat people. And there is another way to look at it that is bringing the social impact as part of the core business, which is the branch of social business, where the social impact is part of the core business. And it's really hard to create a social business when you are looking at business with the traditional way of doing business. So I don't have a presentation, but I really want to share this framework that I share with my students. I teach social innovation to undergrad students. And when you're looking at a traditional way of doing business, it's very linear, right? You have the investors, you have your bootstrap, and you have the startup and your clients, right? It's very linear. It's very lonely too because you're trying to create a project and trying to get a bigger and bigger bite of that market. And if somebody else creates a seamless service or similar project, it's aggressive for a red ocean, right? You can have you can yeah, totally. And that ecosystem of that startup, there is always like some to be in that ecosystem, you the stakeholders, they have to give something and receive something to be part of that ecosystem, and that's how it should be. But imagine if we can bring more stakeholders to that ecosystem. How to bring the environment? The environment, the tree do not extend their branch and give you money, right? Money doesn't grow trees. So how to add the environment to their core business? How to add the bottom of the pyramid, the core business people that have the purchasing power of less than $2 a day. They do have purchasing power, but it's lower. Like how to add them to that ecosystem, how to add the nonprofits, how to add the community, your neighbors, how to add everyone, how to add who would be better to us. And adding that, what would glue us together, right? And my answer to that, and I'm going to back to prove that, because I haven't seen a framework that's helping to bring in that opportunity. So I'm obsessed. And when we add that the glue for social business is their mission. If you have a mission, people will magnetically come to you and say, hey, how can I help? Or how can we work together? Because there are other corporations that also have the policies in place to introduce the SDGs, but how to do it. They're not there on the ground making things happen. So how do I bring the corporations that have the intention of doing some social business, but they don't have anyone on the ground doing it? How to bring the government? They have the policies in place, but they don't have anyone on the ground doing the things. So how to add everyone on that? So I created this framework. But the mission will be in the center of that framework, and then we would bring to the table to that framework all the stakeholders that we think that would benefit from that mission. And every stakeholder, they would have one arrow that they will receive something, and they are also going to give something. And if that's solid, let's say like that, everybody will receive one thing and give one thing, and not necessarily that is money. And that's how we benefit the end beneficiary, because the end beneficiary not necessarily will be the client, not necessarily will be the person that will go there and give the money. The money comes His family is from the favela, his family is from there, his friends are from there. He knows all the ups and downs of living in the favela. And he left, he got educated, he learned about business, and then he came back with a different lens of how to do business. And he realized that his neighbors, his friends, they were buying things online because they didn't have purchasing power. They were buying things online and they were sending to a friend in town that have a zip code because in that favela, they didn't have even a map. Imagine you are a mail carrier, you're going to deliver and then the map stops. And I'm fine. And the house number 1 is close to the house number 1,000, that's close to the house number 50. Only the people who live there, who are there, they know where John Smith lives behind the pink house. Only they know how the favela works and where things are. So he identified that problem that people had to, they were buying things online and they had to take 2 buses to go to their friend's house, pick up the package, take another 2 other buses, come back home. So if they already have very low purchasing power, they had to pay more to get their packages delivered. They had to spend more time to get their packages delivered. All because that service, those products were not designed for them. That is bad, but it's also an opportunity because, wait a second, there is no products and service designed for them. So that is first the definition of a promotion. Wait a second, I can create a solution for it. So that's what it is. So that would be the circle for the Favela Brazil Express. They went IPO last year, like they are just like three years old, and they already have partnership with Amazon, with all the biggest retailers in Brazil. They delivered 3,000 packages a day. In the Black Friday, they delivered 12,000 packages a day, and that's only one favela. They are now in 6 favelas. So and the money. So you see the favela here. The people from the favela, they are the workers. So they're creating jobs in the favelas. They're creating jobs and also giving. You see, they're not taking money from the people. So the favela they give jobs to them, and also they mapped out the favelas. They deliver their stuff to the people there. They gave urbanization, dignity, jobs, less hunger, and they need the workforce. And the money is actually coming from those partnerships, from the corporations, from the retailers, from the e-commerce, because they are expanding a market which they were not being able to sell to that market. So they are just creating this new market for them. They just give me a fee for each market package that I'm delivering, and I'll deliver for you. So that's how we bring together the stakeholders. And again, what can I give to them, and they give to me, and not necessarily the end beneficiary would be the person that would be able to take the money from the payments from. That's how collaboration and bringing the people having one mission. And just to run with the main purpose of this is because before understanding the mission of the company, we do have to understand what is our personal mission. Like, what am I doing here on Earth? Like the life is so short. Oh my God, how many years? That goes so fast. So what am I doing here? Because if we think that the mission of our company is that has nothing to do with my mission. If you are the owner of the company, you're completely wrong because you can't, like, how you see the world is how you're gonna like influence the rest of the whole company. It's top down. So understanding your personal mission, then you can create a business or a product inside of the company that you already have and become an entrepreneur with a mission, and then bring those people together. So that's the framework that I show my students to help them to start.
actually all rates that you'll experience.
I have a client that he authorized me to talk about him. He loves when I talk about him. And he did exactly that. He spent 40 years in the engineering oil industry, and he was like, you know what, Caroline, I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Tell me. But I do want to help the youth in the 4 years in Brazil and help them to give them jobs and give them better opportunities. But I want it to be my main job. I don't need to keep doing that as like just going there and visiting the school. I want to make money out of this, and it feels wrong to say that because I don't even know how to start or if it's good or bad to even think about that. But no, there is a way of doing this, and now the Great Whole program is working with 5 public schools in Rio. I helped him to get connection to the Secretary of Education of the City of Rio, and now he's going to expand to 25 schools of the City of Rio, because every time that we connect with our purpose, it's magical how we naturally get connected to one of the 17 SDGs. So when we connect to ourselves, then we look at the SDGs, oh my God, I'm connected to this and that. And then he teaches in that way how to teach to the Secretary of Education to be connected with their own policies. So they do need us to be connected with ourselves, create a mission and bring people together, and then connect with the policies that are already in place. And someone has to make it. Because the SDGs are just goals, and we have to set the plan.
Yeah, so for a concept like what you described, there's probably an existing way. There's probably also a desire at the government level to somehow address delivery safely and secure access. But it takes this environment that includes maybe technological capabilities. Now most people have phones. You go ahead and map Israel's or map for the function for your needs. The entrepreneur has to be connected then to the government, and that we'll just say that the government practice earlier was to go down to a local store or a kiosk or something where they went back in their practice. The owner of these stores had influence in the local government. This project may never happen unless there was a large corporate interest in delivering to throughout the development, because it's economic impetus to do that. So there's got to be some compelling reason to break through the existing government strongholds or existing consolidation of power distribution, right? To be able to have the growth of this kind of
So that's why I think the restlessness and the empathy for the problem is so important, because the factors were delivered on the bottom of Rockefeller, and then had to go there themselves and pick it up, and then people that saw it and was like, oh my God, that's why everybody else is the factors are being delivered here and we are not getting it. So, and then okay, that self-responsibility of like, I'm going to solve this problem. I don't think it comes from the corporation just because they were doing the job, they're delivering, and then you pick it up, you know.
So the 2 great lessons that you taught us that I hear. One is a new term that I think we should call ROE, return on investment, where you've actually created the customer dignity notch. Right? So if you're a startup and you're notching your customers, probably you're going to get some money out of that. Second, we don't have time for you to go through. I have the same set of circumstances with slums and pollution, through the water and sanitation. Investing in that 3 years later, nobody cleaned out the filter, it was all cleaned up. And so I didn't find a general economic model for slums, so I decided to do that one. And it turns out, indeed, people in slums have an economy. It's been somewhat invisible. And I've lined that up with government budgets, which go back to sovereign debt, to be able to say the government would otherwise put 100,000 people in the slums pay tax to avoid the virus. It starts in the slums, come into some of the business that can remain a major shutdown. How much is it for creating the need for the folks in the slum to reduce the chance of that rise? You can take if you have the data on how much the government is national village level spend so there are ways to as economic actors and then give them the incentive structure to respond to economic people that deliver those.
And it is a global challenge to solve a challenge locally. Now easy. We started with 1 favela and then we went to 6 favelas. Now we can go to other states, other countries, and it's enriched 1 billion people, you know. So that's you're saying if this problem, that can always go in. It's great listening to all of you. Maybe a good round of So I would like to invite Chief who is joining us online for share your presentation.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. But sorry I couldn't come in person, but this is still, I was able to hear a little bit of what was going on in the room there. But I'm going to speak a little bit about sustainable bioproducts for a circular economy. And this is a good opportunity, so we appreciate this time that you have given us. So what I want to talk about today is a couple of things we are working on. And since this presentation is, this event is about SDGs and UN in emerging economies, I wanted to just share some thoughts on the kind of activities we are doing. And the SDGs we are working on include 9, which is the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, and more particularly number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. And last year, the UN came up with the agenda for 2030, which was one of the focus areas was to reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. If you consider India, for example, about 72 million tons of food is wasted per year, and 22% of the food grain is lost. And this contributes about 8% to the world food waste. And so cities and industries are looking for solutions to contain cost on methane emissions from food production. And we have a solution which I'm going to talk to you about, which starts with food waste, but also has potential applications for biomass waste and algae as well. So the solution we are really developing is basically to really go from the one-way economy we have today, from fossil fuels and agriculture to landfills, and turn that into a circular economy by extracting value from that in the form of green hydrogen and fertilizer. And the way we do this is basically we combine waste and chemicals in the waste, organic waste, and combine that with renewable electricity to make hydrogen. And these systems are potentially made available through a distributed generation in shipping containers or some sort of movable equipment. And these are able to convert then food waste into hydrogen. And this leads to a very carbon negative pathway. This could also be deployed at large scale in biorefineries, for example, to reduce emissions and also be able to use biomass feedstocks. In addition to hydrogen, we're also producing a co-product, which is a fertilizer, which has potential for significant improvement in moisture content of soils, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration as well, because essentially we are trying to recycle some of the nutrients in food waste back to the farms. So our overall vision is to basically incorporate a biorefinery or some sort of mini biorefinery to be able to make the green economy possible. So this consists of taking bio-waste and be able to produce hydrogen through a technology called microbial electrolysis, which was developed at Oak Ridge National Lab, which we have licensed. And also, in addition, produce co-products such as regenerative fertilizer and struvite and lime and so on. And this is potential for application in regenerative agriculture, which is being discussed heavily today, and also potentially for urban greening through production of national urban forests and so on. We had an opportunity to speak at the Global Bioenergy Partnership last year, which was organized by the FAO, where we discussed some of our ideas, and many of which are actually potentially applicable in almost all countries, but also in India. But definitely many of the issues that were like, I was able to only hear very little from what was talked in the last hour, but it seems like some of the mechanisms you all are talking about are really important. For example, the one that Caroline mentioned from Nason, to be able to develop these value circles. And these things are quite important, in my opinion, to be able to deploy some of the kind of solutions we are developing. We also interacted with the MNRE, which was an opportunity which came when DOE invited Electroactive to really a presentation, which was a summit organized by the two governments to be able to share ideas about green hydrogen. And we have provided some ideas there. So we are looking forward to some follow-up on that program as well through DOE and MNRE. Internally here in the US, we are having partnerships to basically, being a startup, we are trying to really focus on the hydrogen component, so waste to hydrogen, where we are working with wineries, utilities, and so on to be able to produce hydrogen from waste, and also working with National Renewable Energy, where we received an Outstanding Venture Award in the Emerging Markets category in the Industry Growth Forum. And we have creators with NWEL to be able to really use the resources of a national lab to develop and take this technology forward. Electroactive was one of the companies which was selected under the incubation program of Hydrogen Shot. And we are working with the DOE and the national labs to be able to push this technology forward. So the goal is to be able to produce hydrogen at $1 per kilogram by 2030. Which is a very important goal for the whole world, I think, and we're glad to be able to participate in that. So our overall approach is circular and a holistic one to really convert waste into hydrogen and fertilizers and potentially effluent, which can also be used for urban greening. And you may be able to see how this can be potentially having significant ESG benefits, as well as many benefits for society. But this is a very difficult problem to deploy. And so for a startup, these are really immense challenges. And so this forum is quite interesting to me because it offers a potential to really use some of the kind of approaches that were discussed, where we need to collaborate with not just an investor and a customer, but also many other components of the society. And develop these partners to be able to deploy these kind of solutions. Ultimately, you know, we want to build smart cities of tomorrow where you could take waste and be able to produce products for the 21st century. And that's our long-term vision. And we would really, if anybody would like to know further about this or work with us, I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn or any other platform, and we can discuss more. So given the time, I hopefully this gives you an idea of what we're doing, and I'm going to stop my presentation here. If there's time, we can take questions as well. Thank you. If anybody is speaking, I'm not able to hear at all. So I'm sorry. I will not be able to answer unless somebody really.
Yeah, now can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Abhijit. It was lovely having you. Do you have an email ID that you would like to share with all of us?
Certainly. My email is aborole@electroactive.tech. So if anybody wants to contact me, please feel free.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I would like to invite Brian, who would be presenting on plastic to green with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Again, Brian, I provided the train down. It was delightful. Train ride. I'm glad to be here in front of you. We haven't exactly come on this particular presentation to talk about the UN initiatives or the goals, but I think you'll agree that most of the goals are started upon access to clean energy and to reducing waste in the environment. That covers a large swath of those goals. And that is our goal, is to essentially convert waste into energy and other usable goods. And if you take a look at the second slide, essentially we're fueling the unmitigated polluting of the environment with plastic. We all know what the plastic problems are and where it ends up. It ends up at us, and slowly eating our us at the cellular level. If we allow the continued breakdown of particles find their way that we breathe and eat. The solution we have, essentially, we've discovered it's the lowest cost method of producing ammonia. And ammonia is a huge body. It's used globally for fertilizer and other essential needs in our industrialized world. Our particular process turns any waste plastic into ammonia, into hydrogen, in that same step to ammonia, which carries hydrogen more safely because hydrogen is highly flammable. If you can stick up on that right there, there you go. Just at the very top here, there's the carbon nanotubes is what we make out of carbon. There's a lot of other uses for that carbon. So we are potentially a carbon negative solution. We're actually pulling carbon out of this waste. We don't have any sort of outgassing in our process. We're able to solidify the carbon so that it can be used either for farming, industrial purposes, or in our case, high-tech carbon nanotubes and graphene, which are highly profitable. The methane pyrolysis method of creating ammonia is currently the lowest cost, and our cost is cheaper because it's very similar process, except we use plasma as our way of deforming and reforming the plastic into hydrogen. But it's the same step, that same thermal step allows us to push that hydrogen into ammonia, which is carried more easily, obviously, and safely for distribution. Our feedstock is free, essentially, which makes us the cheapest potentially in the world. And our competitive advantage is making the lowest cost ammonia at a zero carbon dioxide emission in our plant, getting paid to take the feedstock. In many cases, especially with PVCs, these recyclers, they just pile up the PVCs, they don't know what to do with it, they gotta tip it into a landfill, and only some landfills take it, and it costs them money. So we will potentially be able to receive our very feedstock that would normally have to be paid for, we actually get paid to take it. Let's see. To clarify, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean by waste plastic? Surely you don't mean styrofoam, you don't mean delicate carbons. We take all of that potentially, and it translates to a multifaceted revenue stream. We have $5,300 a day as the tipping fee that I mentioned earlier. The carbon black is $43,000 a day, $54,000 a day for the green hydrogen. So we produce hydrogen that is used and useful in our plant, next to our plant, that doesn't necessarily convert to ammonia. But the ammonia that we produce is $55,000 per day and $150,000 per day for the graphene and carbon black. So these are high-tech, high-value items that we produce. And that doesn't include, all the carbon black that could be used. That's back there earlier in the $43,000 category. So multiple streams of revenue there, just from making use of what most people trash every day. We can go ahead and go down. We can tell that, the plastic isn't going away anytime soon. The estimate is that we're going to double the production of plastic in just the next decade, and that we will end up with far more plastic than we can possibly convert to recycling or restrict from production, which is typically the zero waste and the recycling emphasis is to restrict the different types of plastic that are being produced, throw it on the producers to take it back. Even if that all goes well, we're still looking at doubling in the next decade. So this type of process is necessary. So let's take a look at how we can get there, how we can build this plant, because currently it's just conceptual, right? Well, the DOE has $300 billion worth of loan guarantees, and we were one of the first to go in and actually get qualified for their criteria, basically criteria. Their criteria was, it can't be the same solar, it can't be the same wind turbines. This has to be new technology to get the money. And that's what we were able to get into the program with, based on their criteria, we qualified for that. Initially, we asked for, a few $100 million to build a plant. And most of what we need for our plant is already extant in terms of industrial equipment and process. We're just putting this together in a new way. So we only needed a few $100 million to get the first plant going. And the DOE said, nope, sorry, can't do that. We loan more money than that. So we said, well, what if we build 6 of these? They said, sure, we'll loan you $1.4 billion to do that. And so at this point, we have strategic partners that are interested in having us take their plastic, recycled paper mills, for example. We have all sorts of partnerships. Mitsubishi and is one company that we're just in discussion with, for example, and we have dozens of others that are interested in giving us some money, but we're still in the early part of our fundraising efforts. So we have a couple of early stages to get to that bigger money. Let's take a quick look at the financials here. You can tell that we're spending down to try to build these plants. There's a lot of expenditures going into it, but once we hit the first plant and start to go online, those revenue streams kick in, and you can see it's a very quick uptake as we go online and actually produce. So to quickly summarize, why now? Well, we know the problem is you can just walk anywhere, United States or abroad, you will see plastic all over the place. We have to create a plastic economy. There's got to be some reason that people want to pick that stuff up because they know it's going to end up powering their homes, for example, or their cars. Recycling, great, but it's not a long-term solution. The complications of recycling are manifold, as many of you may know if you follow recycling or you've been an avid recycler like I have. 50% of all plastic produced is single use. And what we do with that, we have to make the resource out of that. We have to figure out a way, and we have figured out that way. And let's do the quick summary here, and we're almost wrapped up. The lowest cost, the most profitable upcycle, and a way to keep plastic out of our oceans if it is deemed an economic benefit or motivator for people not to throw it away. The graphene sheets and the high-tech materials, we believe, because there's a profit in our company, such a high profit, it makes us not only investable, but it also makes us transportable. And what we didn't talk about here is what I will add to the presentation for emerging economies, and that is island nations like those in the Caribbean, for example. They're dependent upon importing fuels in most cases. Imagine, if you will, being able to put a handful of container ship sized processing plants where instead of converting it all the way to ammonia, it's used immediately there to generate energy for the island nation or the city in which it's located. And that's our vision, but it's not where we're going to start because there's not a return on capital for something like that. Eventually there will be, but that's where we're headed. Hopefully, if you have any questions, let me know. That's our presentation for this purpose.
I have quite a few questions, but I'll ask you one. How much energy is used in converting and getting hydrogen on a local basis?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's some of that in this presentation, but the bottom line is that we'll take, for every joule of energy we put in, we get 2.5 out. And there's a lot to that, but that's the general.
My other question is hydrogen a necessary intermediate step to get to ammonia and get to ammonia?
It's hydrogen to ammonia because we have to reform. We're taking some of the carbon monoxide that's produced in this process, and we're using that to create the ammonia. And the carbon black as well. Yeah.
It sounds like such a brilliant idea, and I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
And it might be a dumb question, and I'm not asking to give your secret sauce, but
yeah.
Why are the companies now, sanitation companies, that have a zillion pounds of plastic at their ready, why aren't they doing something?
Yeah, I think that has to do with John Locke. It's when you have that property and your purpose for that property is to dump stuff in it, and that's how you get paid. That's what you continue to do. It's just entrenched idea of what your purpose is for with your business. It really is that simple. I mean, there are other pieces to that, but that's kind of where.
I mean, is the technology and what you put together so advanced that it's not as easy for these companies to?
There's regulatory, there's a current economy kind of entrenchment, and you can recycle some stuff, you can separate materials, but if you're in business to receive materials and stick it to the ground, that's what you're going to continue to do. That's some of this is being separated out as resources, but it's very, very little. It's back to the recycling play.
Congratulations. That's the kind of business models that make sustainability mainstream. So what is the cost of one plant?
The cost of one plant is $340 million roughly.
And what's your scalability model? What do you think?
Sure. We're building 100 to 200 ton processing plants. So 100, 200 tons a day of plastic gets you the yields that you saw on the revenue slide. And we can scale up to almost 1,000 tons a day.
So how many more can you
scale? Sure. In the US, to access that DOE money, we would potentially be able to do a dozen or so. I would guess we could double the amount of money we take from the DOE. It just depends on how much we can get. We need 30% or so of the money up front for the DOE to lend us the rest of this 65–70%.
What's your vision?
Our vision is to build those first half dozen, have maybe the last one or two of those half dozen be 500-ton processing plants. I mean, New Jersey has so much plastic. I mean, we could build dozens of these things. And our long-term version is to, I hinted to it earlier, is to export the technology either by licensing it, what have you, and have 60, 70 of these plants around the world. The stat I didn't mention is that once we are at our initial kind of vision of those half dozen plants, we'll be processing 1/2 of 1/10 of the available waste plastics. It's tiny. So there's plenty of, bring on anybody else who wants to compete with us, please, because we got to do something with this plastic.
What does the soul of this product say the ideal model is for it to operate efficiently? I hear you're doing public private partnership. But what is like, well, this is a cooperative or employee owned, this thing is gonna run on 1/6 cylinder. What is
Right, but we can certainly license it for like an employee owned. Currently, we believe to move fast, we're going to have to go through a kind of a traditional route of raising initial seed capital to match the DOE money, that 30% that we have to raise. And it's going to be a corporation. It's going to be very traditional in that sense. These first half dozen, unless we can be compelled that there's another model that will help us go faster. We're certainly open to that.
What's the name of your company?
Plastic to green. Green being greenbacks, but also green hydrogen.
What types of plastics are?
So it's virtually any waste plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's.
So, and we did the presentations, we have a networking even post this, so y'all can always connect with each one individually. May I invite Tama for presenting on Cult Technologies?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tam Riyad. I'm on the right there, the COO, co-founder of Cult Technologies. These are my other two co-founders, the CEO, CTO. They have been lifelong friends, engineers by training. One went the business route, got an MBA. The other ended up faculty at MIT, artificial intelligence. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys the danger that methane poses to the atmosphere and the renewed importance around it in terms of the UN and also the US. Pretty soon, the federal government will be fining oil and gas producers for their excess methane emissions. But we've managed to develop a technology, strictly SaaS, no additional hardware required, where we can optimize natural gas well function so that we not only get 20% more production out of the same asset, but we can also almost entirely eliminate their methane emissions. And like I mentioned previously, there's a lot of attention being paid to it, consistent with like the Paris Agreement, the UN, Inflation Reduction Act, the US Climate Bill, all have provisions for methane emissions, as well as a lot of money going towards methane mitigation efforts. And so we intend to capture a significant slice of this multinational, multi-decade, multi-trillion-dollar effort to reverse the climate crisis. And we're going to do that. We can do that with eliminating methane emissions first from oil and gas production. And so this is our system. Several years in the making, we've trained on thousands of data sets, over 1 million lines of code, and it's been proven to eliminate Scope 1 emissions by over 98%. And it's a tremendous opportunity. We can address about 20 gigatons of methane emissions per year. And a single natural gas well eliminates the equivalent of 1 million gas-powered vehicles. So, just even deploying on one well would make a tremendous contribution. And so we estimate there are about 2 million natural gas wells in North America, 10 million worldwide. So there's a limitless market for what we're offering. And we're already deployed on over 4,000 wells across the Midwest. We're currently in the process of lining up pilots with several independent producers in the Midwest as well. And we're also in talks with some of the super majors, including Aramco, Shell, Chevron, all the household names. And oil and gas is just a start. We'd like to apply our AI machine learning expertise to other aspects of the climate crisis, including tackling food waste. We already developed a system for that, sort of like the skunk works. And we're really the only ones doing what we're doing. Like most other companies are either doing like methane detection, but we're the only ones doing active methane emissions prevention. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit how does this?
If you're familiar with natural gas wells, most of them operate via a plunger lift. A plunger that up and down, and often it'll about at least once a day it'll get stuck at the bottom, and so to get it unstuck, you have to release methane into the atmosphere to restore the pressure differential to raise it back up. But what we do is using the well's own data, we can calibrate the pressure and velocity very precisely so that the plunger doesn't get stuck at all.
How frequently does it stuck? Like typically in the middle? Is it
300 times a year.
300?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I believe we have someone from scale group. Yeah, Anna, I'm gonna enlarge this a little bit here.
Hi, everyone. We are in the Silicon Valley, so it's really hard not to involve AI today. But we did start a company over 2 years ago, so we are before this whole OpenAI, GenAI gold rush. So I want to share with you what do we do our mission today, and hope to our goal today is actually find partners, find channels, so more people will use our product for developed countries, for entrepreneurs, and so on. So in a way, we're on a mission to democratize access to technology and AI, and as a result, drive innovation sustainably, especially for underrepresented founders, right? And those founders, our target market are the founders who are creating communities, who are creating ecosystems, networks, and also sustainable marketplaces. So that's our target audience. As we all know, innovation, we do drive sustainable development, sustainable future. So some of the study that we gathered based on McKinsey, if a business involves or committed to innovation, they are 50% more likely to outperform their competitors. And also they are 30% more likely to tackle global challenges successfully. And we want to have everyone be able to leverage innovation technology to improve both their businesses. Some of the challenges for business to leverage innovation. So number one is software is really expensive to build, especially AI-powered software, right? So on the average, it takes about $1 million to build anything that's really powerful, right? If you think of a platform like Airbnb or Etsy or LinkedIn, they spend $100 million to build their product. And also it takes a long time, right? If you want to build something from scratch, it takes about a year, at least, for really talented engineers, about 6 months, right? So we wanted to shorten that time because we're in the economy of idea. The only way to really make your product adopt is to be able to get into the market fast. So we create a solution to democratize, entrepreneurship access to innovations. So we have a no-code platform for building AI-powered software. And this software can build networks like LinkedIn with marketplace like Airbnb literally overnight. And so far, we have saved our customers over $100 million by providing this solution. So the way we think about how we wanted to give people power of building their own AI-powered software, right? So we think of our platform as 4 cornerstones. The first one is really about building communities, right? So you bring people together, they share resources, they connect with each other, they help each other to grow. And those some of the typical experience that we enable for a community are, directories. Right, I know Harja is looking for building directory, so we might partner together to enable that. And then also, an easy way to communicate, easy way to connect with people, easy way to collaborate, right? An easy way to socially discover different values, different value exchange, right? So that's on the community end. And then on the marketplace end, this is where you can create a place for all your, community members to be able to create value and exchange among themselves, right? So the way we look at success of community is not just lead one person, but it is give people tools so they can create value and exchange among themselves. And then, sorry, not yet. We have 4 cornerstones. And then the third element is the AI, the workflow automation. We want to make things efficient. We want to make things really simple. So all of the entrepreneur or organizations, they can actually spend time on things that matters, like spend time here today with all of you, because AI is at back end running my, manual tasks, right? And then last but least is what AI and data brings everything together to power the growth, to power the engagement, to power that value exchange. I'm not going to go into details of different type of, experiences that you can literally spin up overnight using our platform, right? Let it be a place where people can carry conversation, a directory where people can connect with each other. You can have membership, right? Business needs to survive, so we give them tools to create their revenue stream. Let it be a membership or transaction fees. And then that's out of the box. What you get is you can have your own app overnight to be able to launch that to your community. We have different ways to drive, user acquisition, different ways to retain your retention and drive engagement, and all the tools for you to run day in and day out of your operations. So my co-founder is actually right there recording this. So he is the brain behind this data science and AI. So he has tons of experience running social marketplaces. He used to be CTO at Indiegogo, at Redbubble, and he also run Yelp's mobile team. So he's one of his passion is he knows exactly how much money those companies have spent to build that unicorn. Thanks for sharing your earlier point, right? So we wanted to democratize that. So we want more and more entrepreneurs be able to leverage data, be able to leverage AI to drive their business, drive the growth. This is in a nutshell, right? We are not a Gen AI company, we're a decision AI company. What that means is based on data, based on what's happening within the community, what people are talking about, we use this data to help this business make decisions. Let it be, you should meet today because you both are passionate about clean tech. And here's the opportunity that these 2 teams should collaborate because they have the common goals, right? So based on this data, we help business to decide where they want to invest their time, where they want to invest their money, and where they should put their people together to build a better future. Some of our customers, we're super proud because about 60 or 70% of our customers, they are very, very mission driven, right? Let it be Eleanor Brown. So he's actually law professor and he's building one of the largest professional network to bring top technology techs from Africa, Caribbean, and her goal is to bring diversity into workplace. And then we have Bring Sullivan, and she is building the largest marketplace to place more women into board seat for for-profit companies, from startups to Fortune 500, right? A lot of our customers are mission driven, and we give them the tools to be able to launch something they are truly, truly passionate about. We're gonna show you a little bit taste of how this works, right? It literally, if you guys are adventurous, hop on skillrules.ai, go through our onboarding flow, and then overnight you will be able to launch your own platform for your community or for your network. You start with a template, get your own brand, and choose the experiences you wanted to enable for your community, and then boom, there you go. You have a lively place you can invite your members, your community to join. I just took some screenshots to share like what are some of the capabilities. So this is a real estate marketplace where they bring off-market deals to find investors who wanted to invest. This is a community for entrepreneurs, right? It's a very lively community where they bring different type of AI entrepreneurs together to exchange what's the better way to build AI for the future. Here's an example of conversations where people can have different conversations where they wanted to build a better travel experience, and so on. So I'm not going to go into details. So our mission, or the where we can make impact, is really to bring innovation to more diverse founders and make this product to market much, much faster. We can skip all these features because we didn't design this for investor pitch. We actually wanted to show you what do we want to do, what we can do. So this way, we'll have to find more partners to be able to get this into more entrepreneurs' hands. And that's our team, my co-founder here. So together we have about 35 years experience working here in Silicon Valley. He is the techie geek behind the scene, and I'm more on the business side. And again, we'd love to chat with you. If there's any opportunities we can work together, please come to us, and we'd love to collaborate.
Thank you. May I invite someone from Fluix? Yeah.
Thanks, Harsha. You don't mind if we move this tied to it, right?
Yes. In the interim, if you all want to have some herbal tea and samosas and sandwiches, you just get outside there.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Abhi. Oh, sorry, I'll just mute this.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO and founder of Fluix. Essentially, what we're doing at Fluix, we're building an AI co-pilot to save data centers on energy, water, and carbon emissions. And you can think of us as AI co-pilot for critical buildings. You see, the problem is with the ever-growing demand of the internet and generative AI, data centers are going to consume 20% of the world's power consumption by 2040. But not a lot of people know that for every 20 to 50 questions you ask ChatGPT, it can consume almost 17 ounces of fresh water in the evaporative HVAC systems inside the data center. So the software inadvertently uses fresh potable water inside the HVAC systems. So what we built is a autonomous AI software called Amy. Amy stands for an artificial intelligence for managing infrastructure, just the name that we gave it. And Amy's core technology is in data centers today. When you go into these environments, they have fragmented systems. HVAC doesn't speak directly with lighting. Lighting doesn't speak with IT servers. That doesn't speak with water systems. You might have 30 HVAC systems and they're from 7 different brands, have 7 different control sequences. So in most data centers, you run your HVAC at 90%, while your servers could be utilizing 20 or 100%. It iterates. There's a huge disconnect between the facility systems. So Amy integrates across all the systems. A little bit about how Amy works, the core of the technology, our mode essentially, it's a multimodal AI. We have a data ingest system where we can grab data from any system, whether it's a Schneider Electric HVAC, it can now work with your Eddy water pump while optimizing a Dell server. We run that through deep reinforcement learning models. Essentially what that means is we put a score on the data center. The AI takes actions by optimizing set points, adjusting systems to optimize for that score. It's running its own game essentially. Finding the best score for the system and the most optimal setting. We take those settings and we send it to controls to actually drive energy savings. Next slide, please, Harsh. Thank you so much. And we tested our solution across a public data set from the Nanyang Technology University Data Center, a live data center. Running our models, the AI changed 3 things. Fan speed on the HVAC system, depending on IT load, temperature set point, it's kind of like going to a thermostat. Instead of 72 degrees, it goes to 74 degrees. And lighting on and off. By making those 3 changes in real time in the live data center environment, it's a simulation, but we were able to show 33% energy savings in our white paper. Next slide, please. Then we're taking this and we're actively deployed across 4 pilots that we're testing with. These are paid pilots. In the last 12 months, we made $75K in revenue. Once these pilots convert to full contracts, $850K in potential ACV. These are data centers and one's a next generation manufacturing plant. Next slide, please. And we have a strong pipeline. We're focused on small to medium-sized co-location data centers. These are data centers in your hometown, a building you wouldn't even recognize, because that's where businesses are interacting with, not just Gen AI, but hosting their businesses as well. Next slide. This is how we differentiate. I'm sure you guys heard of great companies like DeepMind, Phaedra. Shout out to all those guys that have innovated before us. They were focused on optimizing single systems, HVAC optimization. But in a data center environment, HVAC is only a portion of the problem. You need to optimize HVAC with your server systems, your water systems, to get the most efficient settings for your environment. So what we've done is using multimodal AI, we connect fragmented systems to save more energy. Next slide, please. We're focused on a $78 billion US critical infrastructure market. That's your data centers, power plants, manufacturing facilities, water treatment facilities. If you go to these plants, they're all fragmented. The problem I spoke about, none of the systems are the same. Sensors are different. HVAC is different. They deal with this problem. Our go-to-market strategy, next slide, please, is small to medium-sized data centers. So one of the reasons I'm here today is if you know a data center, we're giving out our technology to test for free so I can validate further. And in mutual benefit, why would data centers want that? Is because there's an epidemic going around. Because of rising energy costs, carbon regulations like Local Law 97 in New York, and BERTA in Boston, data centers are now more than ever efficiency conscious. So our go-to-market strategy is giving them a dashboard where they can see their efficiency, their energy usage in real time. There's technologies like that in the market, I know. Our differentiation, next slide, is in real time, they can see insights on how to improve their energy bill. The AI is running models. Hey, we're suggesting you change fan speed, water set point speed. Why would they want to do this? They can, facility managers inside these data center can see in real time how they can improve their environment to reduce energy. We're giving these insights out for free. But the next, if you can go to the previous slide, if they want to be able to take autonomous action on these insights, it's an upsell to get to the autonomous AI, which is the co-pilot, which is the actual controls. And one more slide. I have a background in facility management. I was previously a thermal engineer for the Department of Defense. DoD is a great big beast, and they have a lot of infrastructure that's fragmented. Before this, I also developed liquid cooling solutions for CPUs and GPUs. I thought solving the problem was with a hardware technology. That's where my background was. but it wasn't. It was really fragmented. We're going after a much bigger problem. With my facilities and thermal engineering background, I partnered up with my amazing CTO, Chase. He's an AI whiz kid, building AI models since he was a teenager. He's built models for NASA and IBM. Most recently, he revolutionized Rio de Janeiro's public transportation system with an autonomous AI. Shashank has a background in InfoSix. He's a mechatronics and robotics engineer. And together, we're tackling this problem as well. We're raising $2 million pre-seed to invest across product, technology, and go-to-market. This is also to build an 18-month runway. Next slide, please. Good news is people have already given us money because they believe in our vision. So we've banked $500K in our pre-seed. We also have $1 million soft committed. So we're looking for that last $500K allocation to really get this out into the market as well too. Most recent investor being Morgan Stanley really believes in our vision as well. So again, my name is Abi. I'm the CEO and founder of Fluix, and essentially we're building autonomous AI for the world's most important buildings to save energy, water, and carbon emissions.
Really awesome. Have you thought like there was one thing that in terms of risks that your system can be a single point of failure, which means if your system is being compromised, the whole data center can be blown up or tired.
That's why I relied on people much smarter than us. In 2014, DeepMind AI innovated with reinforcement learning in Google's data centers. They built an 8-process trusting mechanism, real-time communication between the systems, fail-safe, human intervention. We went 10 steps further. So aside from the real-time communication, what they invented in the marketplace, we took those learnings and we also implemented a model called deep reinforcement learning. If the AI takes the action that doesn't mathematically lower energy, it shuts off the action to affect the team. So to look at these fail states, we call it the 10 trust commandments. It's just a name, but that's a document that we've implemented, and we're further getting feedback. And possibly your e-voice as well as yeah, our go-to-market strategy was pilot for data centers to test out the technology. We control a portion of their HVAC and their IT servers, an isolated portion where it's a cyber environment where it's not affected from a live data center. And if we get energy savings in the next build that's validated, we take 50%. So the performance-based model. But we realized that scaling doesn't work because data centers, as we're saying, the executives were saying, oh, that's great, 50%. But then when I look at my bill, my use of funds, software is using almost 50% of the savings. There's a ratio that makes sense. So our go-to-market is how do data centers buy software? They do it per cabinet on a subscription. So that's where we were going. We want to give the product away at $5 per month per cabinet so that we get data and they go to the I want to leave time for everyone else. Come find me networking. It's a great
Before I get to narrative that I may or may not familiar with. Fortunately, with your and we've seen it on our website. Let me just read it very quickly. Imagine a world where there is no poverty in this world. We have good health and well-being, quality education, and full gender equality in everyone. It's clean water and sanitation for everyone. Affordable and clean energy has helped to create decent work Prosperity is fueled by investments in industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and that has helped us to reduce inequality. We live in sustainable cities and communities with responsible consumption of electricity. Climate action has capped the warming of the planet, and we have flourishing life and an abundant, diverse life. We enjoy peace and justice, and strong institutions have built a long-term partnership. Color-coded for each of the 17 sustainable development goals, but just imagine that world is within. Forget COP28, whether you think that was a visible thing. There are some great things that have come out of COP28. Because there are two F words that have come on fossil fuels. The fact that we're not talking about fossil fuels is amazing. So let's get into this. We have an event at the United Nations. We're one of very few private companies that hasn't been at the United Nations. And we love us to talk about sustainability. It is at the very core, heart, and the purpose of the journeys. And we, aside from that, we figured that as we are helping and working with governments around the world to embrace the sustainable goals before it's too late, we have 7 more years to go to 2030. We also recognize that the real drivers of achieving sustainable development goals are not governments, corporations, period. And the responsibility we now need to shift onto corporations so that they realize that this is their game. It's your responsibility. That's what we're looking to build a platform, a SaaS platform, which called ESGXS. And we hope that at some point, Microsoft will send us a cease and desist, because that would be fabulous press. ESGXS is and why? Because most organizations are planning for this crisis. The challenge that we have is hitting us square in the face. Rising climate litigation, changing consumer attitudes. You already heard about where millennials versus and we're facing increased regulation. So this is basically the burning platform for corporations. And if they don't already know, trust us, the general counsels are really. So what we're going to do is to look at we know that Europe, you already heard of way ahead of the United States comes to what we can do. We talk about ESG. The point of the is not only address financial materiality, but it will also add together this double materiality. We're also going to look at something called triple materiality, because one of the problems that we have when we look at materiality is actually we're not looking at the whole context in terms of thresholds and allocations and carrying capacities. It's a whole different challenge that we're faced with. And then there's a fourth materiality that we also look at, which is dynamic materiality, because for sure, this is changing regularly. And chief executive officers need to be on their toes when it comes to addressing these challenges. So carry on. Regenibus Technology Advisory Convening, as I say, we convene at the UN. We advise firms around, and businesses around what is materiality, double materiality, etc. And we say that it makes it pretty obvious why companies really need to be paying attention to this, because at the end of the day, it's about
risk mitigation, and including increased access to capital, because institutional investors will be demanding this on a go-forward basis if they're not already. It's a fiduciary duty of institutional investors. So that game is already out there. ESGXL, that's the platform that we're looking to build. And we're basing this on SASB standards because at the end of the day, as we've already indicated throughout the conversations today, there is no standardization about inputs, and there's certainly no standardization around outputs of what an ESG report looks like. You could look at the Fortune 500 companies, and 98% have produced an ESG report, and you would find it very difficult to find two reports that look kind of the same in terms of formatting. But if we have standardization for financial reporting, and we know what that is, it's a balance sheet, cash flow statement, and a P&L, why shouldn't we have that for ESG reporting? And that's what we're setting out to create with the help of Cooley, who we've instructed to help us think about the IP aspects of what we're developing within the platform. To carry on. That's just an interpretation of what the platform will look like. But basically, it's a dynamic, scalable, cost-efficient, and effective platform that corporations, any size, any shape, public, private, could be a B Corp. It probably will be a B Corp, but certainly could be small cap, mid cap, large cap, around the world. Essentially, this is where we have our traction right now. We've been fully bootstrapped up to now. Myself, my co-founder, Patrick McCarson, and our CFO, Kelly Simmons. There'll be a slide later on for the three of us. But what we're now looking at is getting into essentially pre-revenue, because it's pre-revenue for the platform, but it's not pre-revenue for the business. We actually have some revenue. So for all intents and purposes, we're ignoring that revenue. We're talking about pre-revenue seed capital raise of $1 million. And we know what we're going to do with that. 60% will go to build, 5% will go to protect, 25% will go to operate, and the other 10% is because we can never be certain of what the future is going to look like. So it would be nice to have something just tucked away. That's a little bit more about the actual raise and the process for the raise. And I'm happy to share this with anybody who wants to see this particular deck. Some revenues that we've talked about there. It's all about next year and the year after. And then that's the management team, myself, Kelly Berenger, and Patrick. Kelly was a hedge fund operator, one of only 10 or 11 women who actually held ownership of a hedge fund back in 2001, based in New York. Fantastic soul. And Patrick and I worked together at a company called Sustainable Brands, California business. And its name might suggest, work with some of the largest branded corporations in the world, helping them with their sustainability narrative. What we're doing is helping them with their ESG narrative so that they understand where they're at with their risks before they even start talking about the impact from a sustainability perspective their products and services will make as they get out there. And so that's essentially what we're looking to create. So that's it. Thank you.
So Jeff, you mentioned about the challenge of quantifying the like any measure, risks related to or impact, environmental impact, social.
Yeah.
Are you proposing your own standard, or?
In essence, yes. What we've done is by licensing SASB's data, which is already well-known set of standards. They've actually been quite raised eyebrows with us because we've made we haven't hidden the fact that frankly what we're doing is we're adopting their standards, but we're going to adapt. To give an example, there are 26 general issues that SASB look at, one of which in governance is around systemic risk management. Of the 78, 79 sectors that SASB say this is material if you're in this sector, way too few even have systemic risk management as something material. Yet, how can any business operating today not have systemic risk management as a material factor, given the fact that any industry that we're in today is a climate industry? And if you don't know that as a CEO, then step aside, let somebody else run the business who does understand that. And that's essentially what we're doing. To tie it to the SDGs, 17 goals, 169 targets, 242 indicators. We have mapped all of those back to SASB standards, no matter the sectors. And then we future mapped to UNRIS, that's the Research Institute for Sustainable Development, and therefore their newly produced Sustainable Development Performance Indicators, SDPI. So in essence, what we're then doing is addressing materiality, finance materiality through SASB, addressing impact materiality because of the mapping to the SDGs, and then looking at triple materiality around the other aspects that most organizations haven't even thought about. So we're in essence creating the de facto standards for input around ESG, and surprise, surprise, we know what an ESG report should look like. And so we're creating a de facto ESG report, and one day S&P will thank us for the fact that we've licensed their approach to them.
So will you conduct some assessment of your company, such as like audit firms that the Big Four they do on financial and operational risk? For the ESG, will you be doing something similar on the ESG part?
Yes, for sure. And what
tool, but also
and ultimately the platform will have both API integration built into it, so that if you're inputting data into the platform, these days you don't even have to figure out what your GHG emissions are, because P&G are probably PG&E, not PG. PG&E have already provided that information. So we're just pulling that data. The other thing that we'll have in here is blockchain technology layers, because we want to be able to authenticate and validate the data that's going in there. And bingo, that's what the Big Four really want to be able to do, because they want to be able to validate and authenticate the data that's going in there. So we're addressing the fact that there is not enough standardization.
All right. Thank you so very much, and thank you to all the entrepreneurs. We have a special guest, Catherine, who's coming to share about Climate Risk, which is an international organization. Catherine.
Hello, I'll try to be short. So I'm here to represent a nonprofit coming from France originally, but is expanding in the US, called the Climate Risk. So the Risk is actually a fresco or a mural, because it's a game where people build like a mural, a piece of art, if you will, with those cards. So the goal is basically to teach climate change, but also empower people for action. It was invented in 2015 by a teacher, a climate expert. Actually, can you go back up?
Yeah.
A climate expert who was trying to teach climate change and IPCC reports to business, engineering, schools, but people were falling asleep, were not getting the attention that they should have. So we thought, well, why don't I just print the graph from the IPCC reports, like, what is an additional greenhouse effect? What is the concentration of CO2? And he gave those cards to his friends, to his students, and they have to place them and understand what is the cause, what is the consequence. And the key is that people build that together, and they it's like collective intelligence, and they work together. So it's also fun, and it's not like just a class on climate change. And I just talked with like teachers who use it in the schools, and they thought, yeah, it's like the best engagement they could get from the students using this. There's 1.4 million participants so far across the world, 66,000 facilitators as of today, and it's been implemented in many universities, schools, but also companies. People use it to raise awareness, to get buy-in for their sustainable roadmaps. In France, it's even mandatory for every people working for the government, director or above. So they really understood that it's not knowledge for people working in tech and climate tech. It's knowledge that everybody should have to make informed decisions. So we see it more and more used as like team building in companies and things like that. It's available in 50 countries. The gray ones, sorry, we don't really see the light blue ones. It's been translated in 40 languages. Can continue. There's this year, there's been a lot of traction in the US. 1 year ago, we had 2.5 thousand people who had done the workshop, and today we are at 11,000. And the reason, I think the main reason is because we had an article in the New York Times and also a piece on NPR. And as you can see, it's basically like so easy to set up. You just have those cards, get a table, a piece of paper, some sticky notes, and then, yeah, like play the game. You can, yeah, scroll down. Just it's a 3-hour game. It's long, but it's, I mean, very time flies by. The first half of the game is to basically put those cards on paper, and there's like some data behind them, and they link that everything, causes, consequences, feedback loops, everything is shown there. Then there's a reflection phase where people talk more about emotions and kind of absorb what they learned. And then the last part is about talking about solutions. And the power of this is that it's based on IPCC reports, so it's science, it's facts. It's not something people can question. And also the solutions come from the people who attend the workshop. So the key is to have people from different like backgrounds, different age, and they will then have a very interesting exchange on, hey, I did this, or I want to do that, I want to change my investment, I want to change. And then because the solution comes from them, there's no like discussion, oh, not discussion, but there's no like disagreement or. And there's adult version, there's a kid version. All you need is cards and that's about it. And here are like examples of fresks that we've done in the Bay Area. So for instance, we try to have at least one public open for the public in San Francisco, San Mateo, Sunnyvale once a month. And then organizations, schools, companies also can have us come. They can also be trained to also. Everyone who has done the workshop can do a 3 hours online class and then become a facilitator, and then you just get the card and you can, and that's why it's been so, by the word, like spreading so fast.
Yeah, I would like to mention I attended a climate fresk, which was organized by Diana, and it was amazing. It was a good, the same like-minded people come together. Thank you so very much, Kathleen. We have one last presentation. I know there have been a lot of presentation. Would you like to come?
1 second.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just check if I have received yours.
Sending them.
Yes, I have received your email. Yes.
1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Igor, and I'm a CEO of the app called Fixer, and this is the new solution of the communication for the people from a creativity. Just for you know, this is my first presentation, and I work as a fashion stylist. My dad over there, he's a film director, and my mom is a producer. Our 15 years out of experience in filmmaking inspired us to create Fixer, the exact platform that we always needed. In the past, forming a team, like forming a team like in Dubai means spending weeks searching online from Google to Instagram. Now Fixer users finding everything in one place. We are saving the time. A showreel, is a second. A showreel is a 30-second business card showing up your skills. They make finding a talent easier. Fixer is a this is a dating program for all the creativities from all around the world. We are using brain mesh AI. It connects people globally who think alike. And also we have, yeah, it's about the brain mesh. Can we get another slide, please? So this is a Fixer Premiere. It's a part of the Fixer ecosystem and OTT platform for indie films for people who don't know where to show up the films as directors or as creativities. This is just a slice of what like Fixer can offer for creativities. The creation and consumption of the video content is around 100 million people all around the world, and we want to bring all of them into our app. And Fixer earns money in the three main ways: is a business account for companies, is our unique brain mesh AI for creators, and Fixer Premiere for indie films. We launched in May this year, and the growing number of users show up the Fixer is essential. Just us on the exciting journey, we're looking for solid partners or investors who can help us growing our already up and running platform Fixer. Your support and investments are really important for us to take Fixer to the next level. And the content industry. We are ready to make big changes in the world of content. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for the presentation. And thanks. So we've had a very exhaustive and comprehensive conversations today. Thank you for being with us today. We can have a group picture and then just have business networking and exchange cards so that we all get to know each other.
Thank you for organizing.
Yeah. Where do you think we can take a group picture? Here, outside? Outside? Okay, let's go.